Now he's on our hit list. Now he's a target.
Well, here we go. It's deer season 24, episode 4, and we are after an absolute giant here in Iowa. Super tall G1s, a long history with this buck, and it doesn't quite end up the way we wanted it to, but we do finally get closure on the towering G1 8-pointer.
Big 8-pointer, big brow tines, and he is a monster.
He's gonna be a whopper next year. Yeah, look at that shot. Wow. Yeah, he's gonna be big.
Well, the name of this series is the Heartbreaker series as we go through deer season 24 here. And we're drifting back to the history with a giant buck. A buck that we knew of when he was younger and then actually had pictures of him in later years. And we had some encounters with this guy and we said, man, if we can get this deer mature, or if he lives to the point that he's mature, he could really be something.
Boy, does he have some brows.
We're going back to 2021. We've got a deer that is a homebody, a 4.5-year-old clean 8 with big brow tines, a deer that we encountered a lot. He lived on the farm a lot, and a deer we were anxious to see through the years growing and hopefully be able to harvest this deer at 6.5 or older.
Rolling out of deer season 21, going into the springtime, shed season rolls around, and we knew that deer made it in. We were excited to see what this deer was going to look like in fall of 22.
So come 2022 season, this deer is alive, living well, he's on the farms, he's still a homebody, but we don't see him as much as we did in 21 at 4.5. This deer is around, we get trail cam pictures of him.
We were getting more and more excited. He's 5.5. We knew next year he was going to be at the top of the hit list.
I remember one night, we really had never seen this deer before. Had some pictures of him. We thought he could be mature that year, and he came walking out, and he's walking right at us, and I mean, he looks like a giant. And then it was decision time.
Incredible movement here for November the 7th. This is always one of those hot 2 or 3 days, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and you look at the conditions. DeerCast says great. Obviously, it's a great phase, but weather makes that great phase even better, and that's what we've got today. We've got the first warm-up after that little front blew through. Sunshiny skies, pressure like 33 or 30.3, 30.4, and I mean, they're showing out today. Just awesome. They're looking for those first available does. And I still feel like we got some good stuff in front of us. A lot of daylight. Big boys have yet to move, the really big ones. Beautiful deer. Boy, does he have some brows. Yeah. Holy smokes. 5-year-old. I remember that deer from last year.
He comes in, and in my mind, I was like, we went in there with him as a potential target, but once I saw him, I was like, what if he makes it to next year? And we're gonna cross our fingers. Hopefully we don't regret that decision and see what happens next season.
Rolling into fall of 23, the summer pictures start rolling in, and again, this deer did exactly what we had hoped at 6.5, just turned into an absolute giant, towering G1s, kickers, trash, just a beautiful buck, and definitely at the top of our hit list.
So rolls around, deer season 23 is here. It's the summertime, we got our cameras out, and this deer shows back up, and he is absolutely blown. 6.5 years old, big 8-pointer, big brow tines, and he is a monster.
All right, summer comes around, and we get a picture of this giant that has blown, and we knew exactly who it was from the previous year. Now he's on our hit list. Now he's a target. We knew for sure that he was mature this year, and man, did he ever blow. The big tall brow tines and the kickers and stickers and everything, still the main frame, but he sure added some character.
A deer that we're looking forward to hunting through the season. Early season rolls in, we don't have encounters with him.
You know, just like 2 years previous, the deer was all over the farms. He was all over the trail cameras, several pictures, but we hadn't hunted this particular farm. We were actually after a different deer on another farm, but with MRI, the conditions were right. We had our sights set on this deer or another giant 9-pointer.
All right, the season progresses, and this is a 180-acre farm, and we got pictures of him just all the time on this farm. So if he didn't live on it, he was living around it, certainly. He was a homeboy as far as we were concerned, and you don't often get those deer that are homeboys where you get them so often. All right, we're getting to our favorite time of the year, and Wade and I go into one of our favorite sets. It takes a south-southwest wind. We go in and we had no idea the type of morning we were gonna have or how close we were gonna get. Have some fun today. Austin and Coondog and Perry are heading down to Missouri, and myself and Wade are gonna get back in that same tree we were in yesterday. That was a really fun sit, and we got close on that target. Maybe he'll be cruising through there again this morning. We'll see. It's windy, and a lot of times when it's windy right at daybreak, the movement's a touch earlier, but then they'll stop earlier. So it'll be interesting to see if that occurs this morning. Pressure's just under 30, so I think we'll see movement. We do have some clouds rolling in, but I think it'll be good. It's November the 3rd. It's sweet November, and Wade and I are ready to go. Let's have some fun. Let's go kill one. Let's make one dead this morning, shall we? Well, good morning. We are high atop we're sitting high in this oak tree again today and rolling around a little bit. But that's okay. This strong south-southwest wind should really help us get by with movement, drawing, etc. Those calm days when you're in a tree, it's challenging to get drawn on a deer. Today it'll be a little bit easier. Anytime you got wind activity, it's easier to get by with movement. We've already had a buck come into that scrape. A doe walked under us in the pre-dawn. Another buck chasing a doe, which is not uncommon for windy days when the wind's already blowing at daybreak. They almost always move earlier than they do when it's calm. So I suspect if we're gonna have any luck, it'll be soon here this morning. We're in here after that same deer we saw yesterday. Hopefully he comes through. west a little bit, even though the doe's facing east, but you never know when they start nudging them where they're going to go. It's a big 8 with tall G1s, awesome deer. We'll see what they do here. Well, the buck just bedded here at about 60 yards.
this grass. We are trying to get him within bow range. I had him here at 25 forever. He's just standing there. But because of that limb, I couldn't get my bow drawn. I had one little hole to shoot. But for me to shoot through the hole, my limb was touching this limb. My bow limb was touching that limb. Then the doe squirted through. He was coming right here at our path. I was full draw at him, cornered two. Then he turned and went back up the path. I mean, just bow hunting at its best right there. That was fun. I mean, he tied us into a pretzel knot 2 different times this morning. We did everything but release the arrow. Crazy morning, crazy.
You know, it's one of those days where you've got a good speed to the wind. So I'm getting by with movement that I normally wouldn't get by with because of that wind speed, but I just could not get to where I could get a shot at him between the limb and where he was. Wade's got a great view because he's on his side of the tree. I grunted him in, he comes to the downwind side, but he won't leave the doe. The footage is awesome, my view of him is awesome, but my ability to come this way and shoot just was not there. I tried every which direction. He gave us all the time in the world because he's tending this doe, and I just could not get an arrow off. And one thing I didn't want to do was force a shot and make a bad shot. He got out of there, got out of our grasp. I did come to full draw one time when he's coming hard, then he turns around and goes back to the doe. I mean, it was just an incredible encounter, and when we saw him in person, we were like, man, what a giant, but he slipped through our grasp.
What an awesome encounter. You know, sweet November, rut action, and the deer needed to walk maybe 3 to 5 more yards to get into Mark's shooting lane, but he just never did. He finally decided to turn and go after the doe that he's been with all morning. But nonetheless, it's so cool to see that deer with our own eyes. We've seen him so many times in the past couple years, lots of trail camera history, but it was really neat seeing him from a tree stand with our own eyes.
So the season progresses, he's already doed up. We get some more trail pictures of this deer. And one thing stuck out to me that morning that we had that encounter, he continually bedded down. And in my mind, I'm like, is he just tired from running that doe? It's awfully early in the season for a buck to look that worn out. Or does he have a touch of EHD? Is it affecting his body systems? And you know, is this deer gonna make it? We get into the late season, myself and Perry are nestled into one of our favorite spots. We're actually scouting. We're looking for a deer. Morgan Wallen was coming in, and we wanted to sit this field to see how many deer were coming and whether there were some shooters showing up with daylight. Perry and I are sitting there, and out steps this deer. It's the first time I'd seen him since late October, and I was like, fantastic, beautiful deer, and hopefully one of us can actually put a tag on him when our season rolls around. Morgan comes in, he kills a nice 10-point. We don't actually see this deer ever again. Fast forward to March, and then the story unfolds, and this is where the heartbreaking part comes in. That is indeed the buck that we had the encounter with Lee Farr.
Oh, it is. How about it? Look at that. Big old dude. Big old dude. That is unfortunate right there.
You encountered an old car and a door clover.
Yeah.
And late I saw him as well, December, which I thought, you know, when I saw him that night, I was like, well, he's gonna make it. But so he died sometime between mid-December and now. Obviously, he's been gone a while, but oh man, you hate to find him this way. We actually, neighbor found him while shed hunting and sent a picture. And that's why we knew which deer it was. And I said, do you mind if we go in there and take a look at him? And they were good with it, so. Big deer. Man, we got close that morning. He spun us around that tree about 3 or 4 different times, and we just could not get a shot.
Yeah, so close, but yet so far away. And we definitely didn't think this would be the demise of him. We thought we'd have a mega giant to chase next year.
Yeah, exactly. But, you hate to see it.
We had his match set from last year.
Yeah, yeah. Big old deer with a great history, and you hate to find him this way. So same kind of thing happened with Matt. Last year he encountered a deer, got close. Same result, found that particular deer dead. So yeah, I mean, that's just not what you want right there. Going to contact the game warden, get a salvage tag. We'll leave the deer here until that occurs, and just a terrible way to find them. Man, you just hate that. Look at that guy.
On these big giant deer that we pretty much watch grow up from age 3 or 4 on to 5, 6, 7 years old. And you know, a deer that we chase year after year, a deer that we watch year after year, and for him to succumb to death, not by an arrow or not by us or our neighbor or anything like that, and it just all of a sudden comes to a halt. We don't get to chase a deer next year. We don't get to look at the pictures of this deer next year. It's just all over. Just part of deer hunting in general and learning these deer and getting to know these deer. It's just a hard pill to swallow once they're checked off the list.
So you never know what happens to these mature deer, and unfortunately this wasn't the ending to the story we wanted, but a call from the neighbor. Turns out this deer had died of natural causes or whatever he succumbed to. Nonetheless, the chapter is over on the big brow deer, 6.5-year-old giant from Iowa. It's not the story we want to end, but this is how it ends.
It's not often we have a deer with a history like this one, because more often than not, you get a glimpse of him or you get a picture here and there, but this guy was a real homeboy. And after we found him in March, I went back to my thinking that day in late October. He continuously bedded down. Was he already run down? Did he have EHD? You never know what kills a deer. Natural mortality is much higher in bucks than it is does, so you never know the true cause. But in the back of my mind, with the other EHD bucks we found, I have a feeling he had it just a little bit. He was already run down in late October. Take him through the rut, and there you go. He probably died sometime during the winter. Heartbreaking ending, but we were glad we could at least close the chapter and share the story here in deer season 24.
This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by Hawk, designed for those who push their limits to hunt stronger, safer, and smarter. Hunt from above. We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe